Okay. So, hello everybody. Sorry for that earlier confusion. I apparently lost my internet there briefly. So if I get lost again, and somebody who has my cell phone, just let me know that I disappeared for the time being. So I'm glad you're all here. It's great to be able to do this for you, to give you the self-reliance presentation, and hopefully you're all well and enjoying your quarantines at home, and hopefully soon enough we'll be able to get back to life as we used to know it, or somewhat new normal. But I am Gregg Norton. Some of you may know me. I've seen some hands raised, and it's nice to see you guys. And for those of you that don't know me, I'm with St. Vincent College Prevention Projects. I did a presentation about a week ago on vaping, and today we're going to talk about self-reliance. I see Donna raised her hand. Julie, I don't know if she can hear me or has a question, but Julie is going to handle the questions as I talk to make it a little easier for me. But we're going to talk about self-reliance. The name is different than most people would think when you are dealing with self-defense. And that's what this is going to talk about, defending yourself in a bad situation. The reason I had changed the name to self-reliance is when a few years back I was doing this program in the schools, and it was at the time where there were unfortunately several school shootings and various bad situations in the schools. And when people heard self-defense, I think it made them think that, oh, is this person talking about defending students in a active shooter situation? And I didn't want that to come across like that, so I looked up another name for it, and I was like, oh yeah, self-reliance, basically the same thing. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And so then the next slide, hopefully you can see it up here. Many of you have taken this survey. It came out with the registration. Some might not have seen it. It's a voluntary survey, and I have it on the screen. If you want to copy it down, that's great. At the end of the presentation, Julie will be sending out an email, and it's going to have all kinds of references. It will have this link if you want to do it then, that's fine. It will also have, excuse me, some links for different programs that are in the area that you can get involved with relative to self-defense, and then some sexual assault and rape websites to help you become familiar with that as well. So that's the survey. And again, those of you that did it, I appreciate it. It's voluntary. None of the information is known by whoever filled it out. And it helps me because I'm trying to show that this self-reliance program is very important, whether it's in a high school or a college. The next slide here is just some of the questions that you've answered that I thought were interesting to share today. And these were the questions, 3 of the questions from the survey, and they're broken down. Question number 7, as you can see, would you be willing to use physical resistance, which means punch, kick, strike, wrestle, etc., against another person if they were trying to hurt you? And of 190 responses to the survey, 85.3% said yes, they would be willing to do that. And 14.2% said they weren't sure, it depends on what they were doing to them. So what the other person was doing to you or me relative to what I would be willing to do. But that's a significant stat if you look at that number of people that would be willing to do. So that's good to know that, hey, we're out there, we're willing to defend ourselves if we have to. And that's the point of this program. Question number 9, right below that, is do you believe that a man or a woman has a right to physically resist or fight back when someone's attempting to sexually assault or rape them? Now, I do want to put this disclaimer out there. We will talk about briefly sexual assault and rape. And that was also one of the questions on the survey. And sometimes that's triggering for people. So I put this out there that I'm not here to make anybody upset or bring up bad memories if unfortunately you've ever been in that situation. But it's really important that we are aware of these things and what you are allowed to do if that is unfortunately happening to you. So as you can see, 98.4% of you said, yes, you absolutely have the right to physically resist yourself. Very small percentage said no, less than 2%. Go over now to the left side of the screen. Question 11 is, to me, the really telling question of the survey. In your opinion, do you think that most women who are placed in a sexual assault or rape situation feel confident enough to use aggressive resistance to avoid the completion of the assault and protect themselves? Now, I didn't give the whole question there. The point I'm trying to make here is if you look at that, 68.6% of you said no. You don't think that most women who are placed in that situation are confident. However, question number 9, 98% of you said that you have the right, and then 85% of you or 86% of you said that you'd be willing to do it. However, on the other side, we say that we don't believe women are confident enough. And then 23% said they weren't sure. That's really important because that's the point of this program. Not just for women, men as well, but it's to empower people to know that you can and should protect yourself in this situation. But again, sometimes it's easier said than done. And we want to believe that we'll do these things, but that's not always the case. All right, moving forward, I had asked one of the questions on the survey about use of force and self-protection. What is that? Defending yourself. What does that mean? What are we allowed to do? Are we allowed to fight back if someone's trying to assault us or sexually assault or rape or anything of that nature? And as you can see by this slide, we have the Pennsylvania Consolidated Statutes. And in section 505, and I'm not going to get into the legal aspects of things, but section 505, and there's different subsections, and actually right here, I have it all right here because it's pretty long. But summing it up, section A, use of force justifiable for protection of the person. The use of force upon or toward another person is justifiable, meaning it's allowed, when the actor believes that such force is immediately necessary for the purpose of protecting him or herself against the use of unlawful force by such other person on the present occasion. Okay, so basically what does that mean? It means that if you fear for yourself, you think that you are going to get injured, you are allowed, under the law, to defend yourself, to get yourself out of that situation. And that's very important. As we go along, I will talk to you about how defending yourself and justifiably defending yourself can easily and quickly turn into you now are becoming the aggressor. And I often say, if you think of the movie Christmas Story, if you're familiar with the movie, Ralphie, the main individual in the movie, he gets picked on for a long time by this bully, and then eventually he fights back and is on top of the bully, and he's saying a few choice words as he's hitting him in the head and just keeps hitting and hitting and hitting. We sometimes, in a situation like that, if someone gets us angry enough to fight back, we see what's called red. And instead of getting away from the situation, we continue to hit and strike. Now we've become the aggressor. So there's that fine line, and we'll get into that maybe, but I just want you to know that you absolutely have every right to defend yourself. And in a legal sense, you can use one level more than the level of force being used against you, and I'll talk about that down the line. The question always comes, though, in this next slide, is deadly force. And what is deadly force? And you can see and this is still a section 505, an actor is presumed to have reasonable belief that deadly force is immediately necessary to protect himself, again, or herself, against death, serious bodily injury, kidnapping, or sexual intercourse compelled by force or threat, which would be rape, if both of the following conditions exist. And I didn't go into what both of the following conditions are, and it's not that important. The bottom line is, if you're in that situation and someone is attacking you to where you feel that you may become seriously injured or die, or they are trying to rape you, you have every right to use deadly force. And that's really important. However, and what I always explain in my classes is, think about that. Deadly force means you're going to take the life of somebody else. And when you put that in perspective, is somebody might say, yeah, I'd be willing to do that. Yeah, I'll take that other person's life. That's sometimes, and I shouldn't say sometimes, easier said than done. Because death is permanent, and if even someone is doing something to you, like causing, in your opinion, death or serious bodily injury, kidnapping, or sexual intercourse compelled by force, you may think that, yeah, I can use deadly force to get them, but we're good people generally, and we don't want to take the life of somebody else, even when they're doing something so bad to us. So deadly force is a unique situation, and in an hour, to 2 hours, I don't have the time to get involved with that. The only thing I will say relative to that, and I'll talk about this down later on, is people always talk about, should I get a weapon? Should I register for a permit to carry a gun? And I'm not even going to talk about that. I do recommend pepper spray for people to carry, and it's an excellent source for self-protection, and I'll get into that.
Gregg, hate to interrupt, but there was a question there, and I don't know if you're going to get to answer this. Melissa says, why are both kids in schools automatically cited now for a mutual fight if the kid was protecting himself?
Right, and I get that question all the time, especially when I talk to kids about this in schools. Every school has their own policies, and I'm not going to go against any school's policy when it comes to fighting. Obviously, we don't want fighting in schools, and you have to weigh the situation, and it's a really tough call, and that's a great question, one that again is up to every situation is unique. And having been a police officer for 20 years, you can't go into one situation thinking it's going to be like the one before it. You have to get evidence and information and so forth. What I normally tell the kids is, obviously you don't want to fight in school. Plain and simple. You walk away, you do the right thing, you find reasons to come up with why you're not going to fight. But if somebody starts beating on somebody, under the law, as I just read it, you don't have to curl up and take it. You are allowed to fight back under the law. Now, again, that's separate from what the school says. So I'm not really going to get too involved with that, other than every school has their own policy, and I'm glad that they have them. But in the long list of fights and things that do happen in schools, you don't have to take an assault, but you want to do everything you can in your power to avoid it and get away from the situation. I'll just leave it at that, if that's okay. Hopefully that answered the question. All right, really quick, I do want to talk about sexual assault and rape. And as you can see, these definitions come from the Bureau of Justice Statistics, because when you look up a dictionary definition and different perspectives, every state has different laws when it comes to sexual assault, rape, and what have you, what they're graded as, and the different levels and so forth. And I'm going to specifically talk to you about Pennsylvania. If there are other people from other states in here, you could check with your state rules and laws and so forth. But sexual assault, as you can see, is a really broad term. And I've done a lot of study over the last couple of years and read so many books. And we know about the Me Too movement and these different things that are going on to make it more, put more awareness out there about sexual assault. But as you can see, it's separate from rape or attempted rape. However, rape is a form of sexual assault. As you read that definition, these crimes, sexual assault, include attacks or attempted attacks, generally involving unwanted sexual contact between victim and offender. So stop there. Unwanted sexual contact. What does that mean? Well, that's a whole list of things. That can be unwanted touching, unwanted words, and different things. That means different things to different people, okay? And then as you go further, sexual assaults may or may not involve force and include such things as grabbing or fondling, which I had just said. It also includes verbal threats, okay? Underneath that, when you talk about rape, again, rape is, under that definition of sexual assault, a form of sexual assault. Rape is forced sexual intercourse, okay, including both psychological coercion, mental, as well as physical force, like where the person physically grabs them and is holding them down and what have you. Forced sexual intercourse means penetration by the offender or offenders. And it includes attempted rapes, male as well as female victims, and both heterosexual and same-sex rape. Again, a long list of things, but the difference is rape is forced sexual intercourse. Okay, and then the next slide, I'll get into a little bit more about rape under Pennsylvania law. Let me just do this. This thing's bothering me. Sorry. So there's a statute of limitations on sexual assault claims. And again, this isn't a legal point. I just want to put this out there. My whole goal is to really just give you some skills and life-saving techniques that in a bad situation that you can do. But you can see time limits, basically, that a victim of a sexual assault has to file a legal criminal claim, okay? And every state has a different set of limitations. 8 states, and that may have changed since I've updated my PowerPoint, do not have any statute of limitations on felony sexual assault. So basically, somebody is sexually assaulted at 20, they have an indefinite amount of time on when they can bring that claim to on a criminal level, okay? There's also civil versus criminal claims. There's now a DNA exception, which DNA has really helped in regard to confirming that something did happen and finding out who the perpetrator was and what have you. But in Pennsylvania, we have, as you can see, the bottom bubble there. If it's a sexual offense against a minor victim, someone under the age of 18, and it's a sexual offense, again, there's different levels and what have you, that victim has until the age of 50 to bring that claim. If you're talking about rape, sexual assault, sexual abuse, and deviant sexual intercourse for somebody other than a minor, they have 12 years to bring that claim. So if you put that in perspective, again, if something happens to somebody when they're 20, they have up until, according to this, till they're 32 to bring a criminal charge against the person that did it to them. Again, I don't want to get confusing on this and so forth. There's a lot to it, and this isn't a legal course. It's just to give you an idea that we have come a long way in giving women and men the ability to bring accusations for something that is usually kept in it's like a deep, dark secret, and there's lots of reasons why people don't come forward. And again, I'm not gonna get involved with that at this point. Real quick, sexual assault laws in PA. It is for a sexual assault, second-degree felony, and you can see, except as provided in Section 3121, and this is under the Pennsylvania Consolidated Statutes, Title 18. the PA Crimes Code, for those of you that don't know. And these are the sections that you would go to file charges. A person commits a felony of the second degree when that person engages in sexual intercourse or deviate sexual intercourse with the victim without the victim's consent. So there was no either affirmative consent, yes, to this taking place, and the person, the actor, still did it against the wishes of the person. Again, this is different levels, and if there's lawyers out there, I'm not trying to get involved with the law and what to charge, what not to charge.
Somebody, real quick, somebody had a question about the like what's deviant sexual assault as opposed to, I guess, regular sexual assault.
Right, and that's why, like, and those are great questions, and if we can talk after, and I can give them that information through email, because there's so many.
I bet, yeah.
And not trying to minimize, those are great questions, and this is why it gets so, you could have a whole course on just these different sections, and in a college level or high school for a whole semester or 2 semesters, really get down to the nitty-gritty about this. Because as you can see on this next slide right now, when you're at the same Title 18 or PA Crimes Code, now we have Section 3121, which is specifically for rape, which is now a first-degree felony, which is the highest felony you can get. And the different levels of what can be construed as a rape, it's by force, threat of force, forcible compulsion, a person who is unconscious, and this is something where, and a lot of times, unfortunately, like on we'll talk about college campuses, and alcohol is a big factor in this, and somebody drinks too much and they pass out and they wake up to someone being on top of them, engaging in sexual intercourse, and that is under all pretenses a rape. And this is where it gets cloudy sometimes and confusing in the gray area and what have you. But so there's different levels in rape. I just wanted to put it out there that rape, whether it's rape, sexual assault, or even like just harassment, what I'm trying to make people aware from this presentation is that you have absolutely every right to protect yourself. And especially in these situations, I can give you statistics, 90% of actors in a rape or sexual assault are men. 98% of the victims are female. 85% of the time, the person knows the offender, or even higher. It's not like the random person jumping out of the bushes that we tend to see on TV and hear about, and that does happen. And what have you, but more often than not, the victim does, and I shouldn't say the victim, but the person who is assaulted or sexually assaulted or raped knows their actor. Which, think about that. That's going to make it really difficult for that person, A, to want to possibly bring charges, B, to fight back. Again, we're generally good people. We don't want to hurt somebody, and especially somebody that we know. But this whole thing is to let you know that you have every right and that you should do that. So again, I can get involved with that conversation at a later time, and those are great questions, though. Okay, now I want to get to my class, and this is where I get kind of excited. I don't teach a karate class. If I come into a school, and I've done this at several schools, and I generally, just so you know, I gear this towards senior high school girls. No offense to the men here, and for listening to this, you have every right to be in the class. But when you see the statistics on who the offenders are, generally speaking, males against the generalized victim or a person who's assaulted are females. I'm doing this class specifically and solely for girls to defend themselves. Not again that men can't benefit from it. But as you can see, what I teach is not martial arts, not Krav Maga, not karate, not Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Those are disciplines. And the goal of those type of things is the old Bruce Lee saying, the art of fighting without fighting. You're being taught a skill to hope that you never, ever have to use it. The discipline to avoid fighting. And that's ultimately the goal in those classes, as well as my class. But mine's not a skill, because most often than not, and I saw it in my survey, people are not going to get involved in these kind of courses, the martial arts course. You have to go regularly. You have to practice your skill. You go up different levels as you progress, and it's time consuming and it's a commitment. And I'm not saying that people aren't commitment oriented, but there's a lot going on in life. Maybe not right now, but normally speaking, there is. What I'm teaching is a street fight. And if you know anything about a street fight, there's really no rules in a street fight, but one rule, and that's called survive. So what I'm teaching is survival. And that means as you go through this in the light blue, I'm going to point to it. Fight dirty, get ugly, okay? Do whatever you can do to survive, okay? I'm going to teach skills to my students, and I do. And normally it's over 30 hours worth of hands-on training. This is why it's really difficult to do this online, but I'll have some videos coming up for you to see. You can even take place and try it as they're going on. Fighting dirty, getting ugly. It's when I used to teach police officers use of force, what they are allowed or not allowed to do. And it's a unique situation how you can be basically talking with an individual if you're a police officer and all of a sudden back away, and now you're in a deadly force situation. You have to articulate why you went to that course of action and show what your training led you to do. But in the bottom line, and I would say this to police officers, law enforcement, you go home at the end of your shift. You go home to the people who love you. You go home to the people who care about you. You do whatever it takes to survive. Yes, I'm going to teach you strikes and skills, but I'm not going to teach you to bite somebody. But if that's going to do what you need to do to survive, then you're going to do that. You got to think outside of the box, and that's what my course is all about. This slide, hopefully you get what it means is my class is not a pillow fight. And you can see, I believe this wholeheartedly, how you train is how you will react and perform. If you train in a situation and you act very nonchalantly and you're like not taking it seriously, then that's how you're going to perform. But if you come into it and learn the skills, and listen, I don't make it difficult at all. I teach the most basic strikes and what have you, because I know people aren't always going to follow up on it. But I want them to know that you have to take it serious, because that's how you're going to perform. And you can't sit and say, well, if I just listen to it and then if it happens, and hopefully it never happens, but if it does, I'll be able to react. That's not true at all. And that's why it's important. So where it says no with the pillows and then yes to that person in a weird looking suit, that's the suit that I wear when at the end of my course, probably unfortunately for me, the students get to fight me for 5 minutes each. And last time I did it at St. Vincent, I had six girls. So I got to fight each one of them for 5 minutes. And wearing that suit makes it as realistic as possible, other than letting them hit me on flesh, which would be really bad for me. But I'm trying to make it as realistic as possible. So wearing a suit like that allows them to do the strikes and the skills without worrying about hurting me. Sometimes I get bloody and they get me in the face or something and they think I'm crazy, but I get really excited. And they're like, oh, Mr. Norton, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, no, that's great. I'm glad that you at least know that you could hurt somebody. And I know it may sound morbid, but that's the importance to me. Real quick, and then I'm going to go over some of the skills. There's a lot of programs out there that you can get involved with and look to join yourself. And I have these on the screen right now. You can get this in the reference page. It will have all this information for you. The second one down there, Avital Zessler, she's amazing. You'll see a video about her. She is one of the first females ever to be certified in Israeli Krav Maga, which is a very aggressive type of self-defense. Military use it. A lot of police officers use it. You can see right below her is a good friend of mine, Al Carson Pooty, and he's a North Huntington police officer. He has a gym in Trafford, Israeli Krav Maga. He's certified and tremendous. And then you have PA Combat Sports in Greensburg. They're excellent as well. Again, there's plenty of programs out there. You just have to be selective on what you're looking for. And at the end, you'll see on the bottom, there's the Roll Red Roll movie. If you haven't seen that, I highly recommend it. It is on Netflix. It's a documentary about a situation that happened in Ohio. And then the one below that, Audrey and Daisy, is another one that I highly recommend. Very difficult to watch. You have to, maybe if you're a parent of teenagers, watch it first before you decide whether you show it to your family. But I have 4 daughters. I had them all watch it when they were in, 2 were in 8th grade, 1 was in 10th, and 1 was in 11th. Very important stuff. From the day you're born till the day you die, you own 2 things. Think about that, your mind and your body. Let that sink in. You have every right to protect both of those things. We do prevention in our program, St. Vincent College Prevention Program projects. And I always tell the kids, we come in talking to you why it's important to protect your mind, why you shouldn't use alcohol, why you shouldn't use tobacco products, why you shouldn't vape, why you shouldn't use drugs. It's all about your mind. You have the ability to protect that, and you should. And it's the same thing with your body. Your body is yours. Your personal space is your space. And nobody has a right to take advantage of that. Never, ever, okay? Unless you're doing something illegal and you're being put in custody or something to that matter, but shame on you for that. But other than that, you have every right to protect yourself. And that's why self-defense is very important. And you want to use practical skills to eliminate any threat against you or those that you love and take care of. All right, some of these things that I'm going to talk about now, again, one of the things you see that I have stance up there. What that means, I'm not saying that people need to be out, and if you can see, you're not being a bladed stance like a police officer would, putting your firearm away from the person if they're in front of you. But what I mean by stance, and especially for the women that are out there, if you're out in a dressed really nice in heels, I'm not saying you have to be like always like clenched fists and ready to fight, but be aware of your surroundings. And what that means is pay attention to what's going on around. My wife and I usually have a discussion. She's like, you scan everything everywhere you go. And I'm like, I do. I'm always thinking about exits, what could happen, what I can do to protect my family when she's just la, la, la. I'm not picking on her, but she's not always aware of her surroundings. That's really important. So pay attention to people. Watch what people are doing. I always tell the girls in my class, if you're in a store and you're walking and you feel like, hey, something feels wrong here, somebody keeps popping up in the aisles I'm in or something like that, and you just get that weird feeling, go with it. Find somebody at that store. Get on the phone, call somebody. Let that person know that you're paying attention to them. If it's nothing, no big deal. If it's something, great. You just protected yourself for being a victim of a possible attack. Excuse me. So that's what I mean by stance. And when I say have a firm stance, feet on the ground, ready to go, when I teach my class, you're in gym clothes, you're in shoes, sneakers, what have you, that you would be at a gym. In a real life situation, you might be dressed up. That's why when I talk to you about Avital Zessler, she's amazing. She's in New York City. She teaches women fighting with heels, using your heels to your advantage as a weapon. Think about heels. I tell the students, you got maybe a stiletto on. Imagine driving that into someone's face or into their ear or whatever to defend yourself. That's what I'm talking about. Again, not to be morbid, but these are survival. This is doing what it takes, using things that you have, a purse. You'll see Avital use a purse to defend herself against a knife attack. Use the things, rings on your hands. Use them to or your fingers. Use them to your advantage. All right, as you can see, we're going to get into some of the videos. If you want to, you don't have to. If you want to stand up and do this, I know I've done this with teachers before, and they give me that look like, are you kidding me? No. This is just, if you have somebody you're watching it with, you can try this. And these are really simple. And again, these are the basic levels of what you can use to protect yourself. So say somebody grabs you, and you'll see it in the presentation. I sum it up, and I'll have a little chart for you when this is over, to simple terms to make it so people can remember things really easy. I don't want to make it difficult. I want to make, hey, what was that Norton guy said? Oh yeah, thumb to thumb. What does that mean, thumb to thumb? And you're going to see in the video, when I grab Peyton with my right hand against her left hand, she's going to just, and it's not this simple, you're just going to roll your thumb towards the other person's thumb, which is going to break their grip. That works opposite hand, that works same hand. So single hand grab against your single hand. You'll also see that most people aren't going to grab you by one hand. They will grab you with two hands. The first thing you're going to want to do when someone grabs you is pull away. And you can see my daughter's a lot less vertical challenged. She's vertically challenged, as I say, small, tiny than me, and I'm not the tallest person in the world. Her pulling away from me is not going to work. I'm going to be stronger than her. And this is no offense to anybody. But this is where you got to think outside the box. You're going to use that momentum to your advantage. And you're going to see in several of the moves here, I actually have you come closer to your attacker because you use that momentum, and they're not going to be able to use their strength the closer you are to them. So you pull away, but then you come into the attacker or the person that's trying to grab you. So I'm going to show the video. If Julie, if it doesn't show the volume, just let me know and I'll make sure I get that to work.
We're going to do when someone tries to grab you. So I grab Peyton, my opposite hand, her opposite hand. You're going to want to instinctively pull away, but we're going to talk about that in a minute. But what you want to do is just remember two things, or one thing. Thumb to thumb. You're going to roll your thumb over top to the direction of their thumb, which is really simple. If Peyton does that, thumb to thumb, it's going to break open and cause my grip to break, okay? It's not that simple, but for this purpose it will be. If she tries to roll away from my thumb, as you can see, my grip doesn't go anywhere, okay? So that's the key to remember, is thumb to thumb. It's the same thing here. Now if I grab with the same hand, same side, if she goes thumb to thumb over top, she's breaking my grip. But if she rolls it away from my thumb, the grip never goes anywhere, and that gives me the ability to come like this now and even get her in a far worse position, okay? So the key is thumb to thumb. More than likely, though, they're going to grab you with two hands. They're going to say, come with me. You're instinctively going to do what? Pull away. So you pull away, that's not going to work. So here's where you got to think again outside the box. What you're going to do is, as you pull away, but then now you're going to come in towards the person, bending your elbow and driving it into towards their stomach. Keep walking towards me. And as you can see, even though she's short or vertically challenged, my grip is already starting to break just from that simple move, okay? Then the other thing is, she has her left hand still free, so she could do lots of things with that right now, which would be hit me in the head, strike me in the face, whatever she wants to do. She has knees too, to knee me. And what I want you to do is grab the top of that hand that's being held with your opposite hand, rip up, and then you just pull away. And as you go, before you leave and separate, you give them a parting, boom, elbow right to the face, and then you back away.
Okay, yeah, great, thumbs up. Thanks to my daughter on that. Again, these are just simple moves, and when I say thumb to thumb, it doesn't mean that it's that simple. You're gonna have to be using some force behind it and what have you, but it really is that simple. And the key again to this is thumb to thumb. When I grabbed her with both hands, if you recall, and as she walked in close to me, both of my hands are tied up if I have just one of hers, right? Think about that. She has her whole other hand to do many things with. She can come over with like a windmill and try to like bring that other arm around my arms and rip my grip away. Again, she can strike me with a palm to the face. She has her knees into my groin, into my hips, my common perineal, wherever. The bottom line is, as you come into me, you could see, unless I'm like 7 foot tall and she's less than 5 feet in real life, maybe coming in won't work, but for my situation and even someone that's in their, upper 6 feet, 6'2", 6'3", they're not going to be able to hold that grip as you come in close to them. Okay, so just think about that. You're walking into the person. And I thought that key to that is right there, thumb to thumb. All right, what do we got next here? Okay, the key to this in any situation, and I said this before when I used about the Ralphie situation from A Christmas Story, in a fight situation, emotions get the best of you. I'm a very calm, generally calm person, and it takes a lot to get me riled up. But when you get me riled up, you can't, it's hard for me to stop. And I sometimes will get into that red, but I don't want to be like that, but most people are like that. But the goal in my training is distract and go. Okay, what you want to do is, like in Peyton's situation in that previous slide, is when she's able to break free, she wants to create distance. So get that person who's the attacker to be like, what the heck just happened? They don't expect you to do something, and then get out of the situation. And that's another thing that I always say to my students is distract and get out of the situation. Is it always going to be that easy? No, but that's just something that I want to put out there. The whole goal is not to stay there and fight. It's to get out of the situation. And this is why a lot of times when I'm talking to the guys about it, they're like, oh, I'm going to fight that person. And I'm like, no, it doesn't make you any less of a man or somebody. If you don't stay and fight, it makes you smart. Get out of this situation. So distract and go. Okay, some more videos, thanks to my daughter. I teach basic strikes, and I'm putting them on the screen right now. First and foremost is the palm strike, and you'll see in the video, I'll have you make a fist almost, and then what you do is you turn your hand around, and that's what you're going to strike with. And there's a bony part on the bottom of your palm. You want to hit with that. Again, a lot of people, if you strike with your knuckles, you could really do some damage. A lot of people don't know how to throw punches, but a palm is just nice and solid, and you push that into the soft flesh of somebody, it's going to hurt, and that's a great strike. The next one you'll see is an elbow strike. It's using your elbows. If you touch your elbows right now, you can feel like how solid an elbow is. And more often than not, if you're fighting with somebody, you're going to be close, and it's going to be hard to throw a palm or a punch, but you can easily, if you can see me, throw an elbow just using your shoulder. Okay, next is knees, lower part, especially for women. Again, not insulting anybody, generally speaking, your core and your lower part of your lower half are a lot stronger than your upper body, and you can get a lot of force with driving a knee, especially if you're in close. There's chops to the hips, where you take both your hands and you just come down on a person's hip. And then another one I like is the hammer punch. If you have someone who's taller than you, you come in and you maybe give them a strike to their groin to where their head comes down, and you just come down through with a hammer punch. So we're going to see these being done. Oh, and temple strikes, get to the person's temples at the same time. You can create that like, whoa, shock into the person. Again, distract and go. They're going to be like, what the heck just hit me? I like a palm to the forehead, but that's just me.
Not a big deal.
Oh, okay. So first what we're going to do is what's called a palm strike. So what you would do is you would take a fist. Most people want to punch, and you're going to take a fist, but instead of punching with your fist, you're going to turn your hand around and have your hand basically like this with your thumb protected. And then you have down at the bottom of your wrist, you have a bony part, and that's going to be very strong, especially on a woman, that you can hit with that palm. So what my daughter is going to do is take that, what we call palm strike, as if you're coming through, and you're going to extend your hand and then drive it up. So you would come like this and then drive it up, like you're wanting to like drive their nose bone through their skull. Yeah, it sounds morbid, but this is what you're trying to do. You're going to protect yourself. So I have a bag that she's going to hit. If you don't have a bag at home, you can get a couple pillows, hold them or whatever, or even just do it on air just to get the movement. And especially for these types of moves, women, not anything against women, but you're generally going to be getting your strength from your core and your lower half. So you want to turn into it and then drive up. You don't want to use all just your arms. So Peyton would hit it, make your hand like a fist. Good. And drive it up. So basically a palm strike. Okay, that's the first one. And that's going to be if you're kind of this distance apart. You're also going to want to get hit and then what I call distract and go. The next one is probably going to be the best one, and the one I like the most is using your elbows. If you touch your elbow, you'll feel that it's very hard and very solid. So you're going to be in close with somebody like this. You might not have the ability to throw a punch or throw a palm, but you'll be able to throw an elbow like that. So what you would do is you're always going to protect, Peyton's going to put her hands up. You always want to protect your head, your face, and your head. You don't want someone hitting you in the head. And the same thing, in close, and then you just take an elbow and drive it up like that. Right, good. Elbows, there's other ways too, where you come in here like this and you just drive it up, but you use your shoulder blade again and get your lower core and come up. The other.
All right, we're going to pause there, and I have another one. Just to reiterate on that, the palm strike is great, again, because you have stronger and it's going to hold up better for you. I'm a big advocate of palm strikes, as you heard, and because of the closeness, and you don't have to have a full wind up like you would to punch, but you come in and you just use your shoulder to your advantage when it comes to your elbow. And when I'm talking about your core, you really want to, you don't want to get all your strength from your upper body. Not that it's not strong, but you want to get everything and all into the one location. So bring in from your lower, your legs, your core, and then just let that all come out through the different strikes. That's what I'm trying to say when we talk about using your core and your lower parts. I'm going to show now the knees and the hammer punch. This is just a continuation from the last video.
Other one, best one for a female is going to be knees. Again, if you can get the person and get their head, it's almost as if you're grabbing their head and you're going to introduce the person's face to your knee. So it would be like this, coming down and then up at the same time. So the move is like this. So Peyton would pretend that either side of the bag, she's grabbing on, 1, 2, 3. Excellent. Again, getting the strength from here, from your core, from your lower body, which is where you're going to drive and get the strength. The fourth one, so that was a knee strike. So we've had palm strike, elbow strike, knee strike, and then the one I like is a hammer strike. This is for, as you can see, Peyton, a little shorter than me, and to get someone up in the head might be difficult. So first you would want to make a move where you try to go and kick with your core and drive them into their groin area, into their stomach, so they come over. Like if she would act like she was doing that to me, I would drop like this. At that point, she could come around on either the side or just take a hammer, like a hand again, like her fist. And as my head comes down, she would drive it down in the back of my neck, come around the other side, like this, and do the same thing again on the back of my head. So when we do it here, it's called a hammer strike. She would simulate like she kicked me in the groin. Go ahead. No, coming in like this and down. and then down. So I come down like this, and then she would take that hammer and then drop down like a squat. Where the weight comes again is you're falling down on the person. So it's boom. All your weight is coming down like that. Good.
So bottom line, the knees are going to be great to introduce your knee to their face. And obviously these are for self-defense purposes, but you're going to need to be aggressive. Give them a strike, hightail it out of there. The hammer punch, hammer strike, someone's a lot taller than you and you want to get them leverage on them and get them lower, they drop their head, you can come from the behind their head on the back of their neck, and what you want to do is drop down, bring like you're squatting down to all your weight, all your force comes down, and you knock them so they face plant onto the ground. Again, that's great for distracting and getting out of there, getting yourself out of the situation. Most people aren't going to expect you to fight back, and now you're fighting back. Just some basic strikes, and these are things that I would do in a 2-hour lesson over and over and over and over again with the students. Just the more you do it, the better you become at it, and practice and you train like you're going to perform. I got to watch how I say this, but I live in a house with 4 daughters and my wife, so 5 women and me. I know women can talk, okay? So nobody hurt me now because I said that. But what I mean by keep talking is use your words, and I knew I was going to do that. If someone's attacking you, you want to bring attention to the situation if you can, okay? Bottom line is, if you're talking, as you can see it, that means you're breathing. And if you're breathing, that means you're taking in the oxygen, which goes to the muscles, which then allows you to fight. Keep talking, keep breathing, getting oxygen, going to the muscles so you can fight. What happens think about like in a scary movie, if someone comes up to you and they scare you from behind, what do? You take that breath in, you hold your breath. Eventually, if you don't breathe, what's going to happen? You're going to pass out. Then that person can do whatever they want once you're passed out. So keep talking. Keep talking. And again, perform how you train. People always ask, what do I yell in a situation? Most websites, self-defense experts, they'll tell you, yell fire. Why fire? And you can see people don't always respond to help. We like to believe we will, but as I tell my students, somebody hears help, they're like, well, man, I got somewhere to be, I got something to do, I can't get involved in something, what can I do to help? I'm just a little person, if it really something major is going on, somebody else will do it. And there's been research and there's been unfortunate situations where people assume somebody else would help, and then someone gets violently injured or killed when other people really could have helped. If you yell fire, most people will go, where's the fire? And then they look. Once they look and they see something, they're compelled to help. It's hard not to help when you see something. But if you don't look, then you don't have to worry about it. The bottom line, yell whatever comes to mind. And this is where, in my last scenario, I have the girls fight me, and it's a chaotic situation. I'll explain that, and I'll show you a quick clip of it. You yell whatever comes to mind. If that's every foul word you've ever heard in your life, I don't care. Do it. If that's the way you're going to do it in that situation, practice it that way. It's not just in my classes in the schools to give them the ability to yell some bad words. It's, again, that keeps you talking. It keeps maybe someone's going to hear something. You do whatever it takes. So yes, yell fire is a great, yell help, yell whatever, as long as you're trying to get someone's attention to help you in that situation. All right, quickly, and I don't want to go too much longer and tie you guys up. One of the worst situations and worst places you can be is on the ground, okay? Especially on your belly on the ground. If you're ever in a situation and you're on your belly, you want to curl up into a fetal position, make yourself as small as possible, defend your head. You want to eventually get over to your back. So that way you can see the person and what they're doing to you. In this situation, you always want to defend against the choke first. And this is something that's really important. Someone's choking you, they're on top of you, as you're going to see here. You're going, and there's different types of chokes. And for this one, I'm just keeping it a two-handed front choke, where one of my twins is on top of Peyton. She's going to be choking Peyton. And they kind of enjoyed this maybe a little too much, but Peyton's going to defend the choke. And it might not be much. You'll see that I'm going to have you crisscross over top of that person's hands. And then all you're going to do is push down with your forearms, creating just a slight gap in that choke. You might not get the choke completely done. You're going to get a little bit of air, and that's what you need to breathe. So the bottom line is, before you can do anything else, you've got to defend the choke. And that's what I want you to just remember from this.
Okay, we're back. So now we're going to look at, if the worst place you can be is on your back or on the ground. Worse will be on your belly. But so we're going to skip through everything here and say someone's on top of you like they are here and they're choking you. Go ahead. And what you want to do here is, this is going to be a really bad position. Nobody wants to be choked. So what you're going to do is first and foremost defend the choke. So you're going to take your hands, if they're choking you in this example, and crisscross over their arms like that. And then all you're going to do is push pressure down with your arms, and you can see that that's going to separate their grip and make it not as tight. It's not going to feel comfortable. It's not going to stop the situation, but it's going to at least allow you to breathe. And that's the bottom line. Defend the choke first.
And I'll just keep saying that. Defend the choke, defend the choke, defend the choke. Can't do anything if you can't breathe. Is the situation taken care of there? Absolutely not. There's still more to do to get out of that situation, which is going to be the next presentation or demonstration I show you, but at least you're alleviating that strain on being able to breathe. And that's the point that I'm trying to get on this one. And I think, okay. Again, you don't want to ever be on the ground, but that's where, if you're on the ground, you want to protect your head. If you're on your belly, you want to get into a fetal position, make yourself as small as possible. And I do these skills where I have the participants quickly learn to roll onto their back and get their feet up in a defensive move. And you'll see that in one of the pictures I show you from the class at the college. And you want to try to get to your back. That way you can see what's going on. You can't see when you're on your belly and what have you. So you want to get onto your back as fast as possible. Just like when somebody grabs you and you want to pull away, and I told you, you need to get closer to them. When someone like my daughter was just choking my other daughter, the first instinct for you, if someone's on top of you, is going to be, you're going to want to push them away, like physically get them off of you. Not going to be easier. Not going to be easy. A lot easier said than done, especially I'm 205 pounds, pretty strong. And if my daughter, if it was me doing that to Peyton, there's no way she's going to push me off her, as strong as she may be. It's just not going to happen. I have the momentum. I'm pushing down as she's trying to push up. Here, you can see you're going to bring your attacker closer to you. Now that sounds like, oh my gosh, this person who's trying to do this to me, I'm going to bring them closer to me. Yep, absolutely. Because you're going to use that to your momentum. Any wrestlers out there will know that you wrestle best when you're closer with a person. And then you also wait for shifts and movements. And it may be a waiting game, but as soon as you feel like something changed in that position and a shift and it gets lighter, that's when you make your move. And what I'm going to call this is a hip thrust. And this is what you're going to see in the video. What you do is you take your hips and then you're going to drive them up to the ceiling, which if that person is on top of you, they're going to come forward and either face plant or try to protect themselves with their hand, releasing their grip on your neck or wherever it may be. And then what you're going to do is actually grab them, bring them closer to your face, and then you're going to roll them. And you'll see it in the presentation. Again, these aren't as easy as I have on this list. It's something that you do over and over in the class. And then what happens at the end is once you've rolled them over, you're gonna give them a parting blow to their groin, to their face, and then you're gonna back up, never turning your back till you can get enough distance to where you can hightail it out of there. If it's in a room or in a apartment, find the door and get out of there. So this is going to be a hip thrust and a roll.
Okay, someone's on top of you and they're choking you. First and foremost, you're going to defend the choke. Then what you're going to do now is what we're going to call a hip thrust. And basically what you're going to be doing is the person who's on top of you, believe it or not, you're going to be bringing them closer to you, which is contrary to what you are probably thinking, like, do I really want this person close to me? In order for you to do this move, you have to have them as close to you as possible. So you sneak up your feet towards your bottom, and then if you want to roll, because you're going to be doing a hip thrust, you're going to either roll to the right or left. If you want to go to the right, you're going to try to lock your foot around their ankle. It's not necessary that you do that, but that's just to remind you that you're going towards the right or left at that particular moment. Then as you thrust, you're going to drive your hips up to the ceiling. Go ahead. And then that person's going to go forward. Then you're going to release and then put your arms around their stomach. And then you're going to thrust and roll them over. And then what you're going to do from there is try to break free. You're going to drive your hand and then get out of the situation.
So what happened there, the key to that move is the hip thrust. And when and I think I can go back, but I don't want to. Yeah, I can. So when I had my daughter, as you can see here, put that right foot and try to lock it against my other daughter's foot. That's just to guide you in what direction you want to go, if you're going to go to the right or if you're going to go to the left. If you can't get that foot there, it's not that important. The whole part of this move is the thrust. If you don't thrust with force, then they're not going to come flying forward. If you can't roll them, and if you try this some other time, and you don't do the thrust and try to roll, it's not going to work. You have to do the thrust. That's the key to this. And then at the end, when you do roll them over, your goal is to, right there, give them a parting shot, if you can see that, into their groin, into their face, and then stand up while still facing them, and then create that distance, and then get out of the situation. Unfortunately, when you roll them, and I don't have it here, but you might still be in a situation where they have you like in a scissor hold, and now both their legs are still wrapped around your waist. And this is something I call praying hands. Basically what you do is you take your hands and you put them together like you're praying, and then you take your elbows and you would put them on the inner thighs of the person who has their legs around you. And then what you do is, while you're praying, you just slowly push your elbows down, which in turn will be spreading their leg and creating a lot of strain on their groin. I'll tell you firsthand, when the females do this to me in the class, it is not fun at all. I am quick to let go. Most men will let go. And even when the girls do it to each other, they're quick to say, yes, that hurts. Again, breaks the grip, the hold. You give them a parting strike to the groin, face, wherever, and then you hightail it out of there. Never turn your back. That's just something, a key to remember, is you don't want to ever turn your back. You always want to face your attacker. Whoops, sorry. Whoops, wrong way. Because if I turn my back too fast, if you guys can see me, but if not, but if I'm still really close to the person and I want to turn and run, well, what did I just do? I just gave them my back, where they can now grab me from behind. At least if I'm still facing them, I can do strikes, knees, kicks, until I can get enough distance away, and then hightail it out of there. So always face your attacker. This is just a slide to just show you some of the students when I had my class. The last class, and I'll show you a clip, it's a 7-second clip. I told you the girls fight me for about 5 minutes. And it's all the skills they learn, the strikes we do about two, well, we're up, we're down, we're either strikes, and then they're on the ground and they're having to defend the choke and what have you. Everything they learn goes out the window. I'm not basing this on skill, how well they strike, or anything like this. This whole point of this last drill that we do, the 5 minutes, is that they can fight for 5 minutes without stopping. And when I do it, I'm trying to make it as realistic as possible. And so I wear that suit so they can hit me and strike me without hurting me too much, but still gets me sore at the end. But the point I want them to know is that they can fight, and they can fight for 5 minutes. The other thing I do is I darken all the lights as best I can, and I bring in strobe lights, and I bring in really loud music. It's like screamo music, but it's Christian. And basically, it's bands like Skillet, Thousand Foot Crutch, and Red, and what have you. Because when I do it in schools, I don't want any bad language. And so I have really loud music. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to make a very chaotic scene. Not to say that the situation is ever going to be like loud strobe lights and music, but what I'm trying to do is disrupt all their senses and make the situation around them chaotic, because they may very well be having to defend themselves in their own apartment, in their own bedroom or home. And it may not be, and if it's an acquaintance that's doing this, it may not be a chaotic situation, but in their mind, it's going to be chaotic. So that's why I do what I do. And you can see in the pictures, the strikes. The one is in the top left giving me nice elbows to the face. The other one is getting ready just to clobber me in the red. She really battled me really tough. And then the other one on the bottom is giving some nice knees. And I think I have a couple more, again, a ground technique on the left where they're gonna have rolled me over and now they're gonna strike me and get up and get out of the way. And then again, the one in the red there had been on her stomach and then rolled over quickly to get her feet so she could defend me and use those powerful legs and lower body that they have. And then here's the clip quickly, just to give you an idea of what's going on for about 5 minutes, but this is only about 7 seconds. And as you can see from that, and I'll play it again, I think, if I can. No. Now I will. I have, in the four corners of the padding, I have the other participants that are holding the pads in case somebody, gets thrown out or something, and that's just for safety measures and what have you. I couldn't get the one light to get off in the building we were there, but the strobe lights, again, is making it very chaotic and disrupting and what have you, and then the music in the background. I'm just going to go over real quick and then show you Avatal and pretty much be done. But these are pressure points, and these are very, very simple things that you can do and places that you can go to elicit quick pain. And it's what we use in law enforcement, we call pain compliance. If you listen to us, you're not going to have the pain. If you keep acting up, then we'll give you a little push on the mastoid process, and hopefully you learn that, okay, maybe you should listen. And it's the same thing for situations with self-defense. Someone's on top of you, again, like my daughter was, and you can see by the picture, there's various locations you can go to. The picture where the individual is looking straight on at us, the second one down is what's called your jugular notch. If you want to try this, you can do it. You won't hurt yourself because you won't put enough pressure. But if you take two fingers, usually your middle finger and your index finger, and you just drive it into where your collarbone and neck meet there. There's like a little hole, and I'm doing it to myself. And you just push those fingers in and then curl them down. You can feel the little bit of pain that you're creating. Now, if someone was on top of you and they were choking you and you had a free hand and you couldn't really get to the choke, but you could get to that jugular notch, you could quickly just put your fingers there and push down. There's so many others, but the other one you can try right now is in the other picture. When the side view of the person, you'll see the mastoid process. That's where your ear, so you go behind your ear, you take your thumb, and then you find where your jawbone meets behind your ear. There's a little gap there. And then what you do is just take your, whatever thumb you're using, your right side to your right ear behind your ear, or your left one behind your left ear. So if it's your right one, just drive your thumb up as you push your head down towards your thumb a little bit, and you'll feel the pressure right there. Again, imagine someone's on top of you and you have your hand and you're pushing your hand, your left hand down as your right thumb comes up. It's going to create a lot of pain, which again, distract and go. Get out of the situation. Just some quick pictures of some groups I've done before. I always call it a look of confidence. I tell my students, whomever, you want to give a look that tells people that maybe I should think twice about messing with you. So I had done a few courses at Valley School of Ligonier, and I had a mix of girls and boys. We did 3 days worth, and I had them just pose with me to show their tough look. And what that means is, hey, don't mess with me, kind of thing. I had a great opportunity in this picture to go to the St. Vincent College Bearcat Best Group. And these are kind of what you would say special needs and some mentally challenged individuals, and they can benefit from a program just as much as anybody else. So they had asked me to come and do this with them. And in the front right picture is Sherry from the college, St. Vincent College Prevention Projects that I work with. She helped me out with that. And we had a marvelous time doing it with them, and their parents were there as well. So that was really well received. And then these were 5th and 6th graders at Valley School. So I obviously teach them a little differently than I will with adults, but their look of confidence was opposed of strikes or whatever they wanted to do. And we had a really good time there. I'll leave it at this. Pepper spray. Pink's my favorite color. It's $8 at Gander Mountain. Again, you can buy all kinds of things from pepper spray. I recommend it more than mace because pepper spray is 99% effective on the population because it's organic. Mace doesn't always affect every human that you would spray, but pepper spray is going to work. There's alarms. You can use keys. Pepper spray is something that is easily clipped onto your keychain. You can carry it in your purse. I always get people that say to me, well, what do I do if I go to a concert or if I'm going to like a Steeler game? Should I leave it in my car? If your car is 8 blocks from the Steeler game, what good is it doing you in the car? Of course you carry it with you. When you go and if they look in your bag, I'm not trying to go against procedures and different things, they probably won't even notice it. They're not looking for pepper spray, they're looking for weapons, guns, knives, and things like that. Even if they find it, they're going to say, hey, you can't have this in the building, but we'll hold it. We're going to confiscate it while you're in there, but if you want it back, just come back and see us and we'll give it back. It doesn't do you any good being in your car. You have to have it on you. There's different laws and rules when it comes to it, especially like for any school teachers out there. I know schools have their policy, but the state law in Pennsylvania says pepper spray is not a prohibitive offensive weapon when used in self-defense, meaning you have every right to use that. And let me tell you something, it works. We were sprayed, part of our training in the state police, and it works. I'll put it that way. But if you have it in certain, excuse me, locations, especially schools, they don't want it there for good reason. But the state law says over 21, you're allowed to have it on school grounds. And I've talked to teachers about this, administrators, and I'm not going to get involved with that. But something for personal protection, absolutely carry pepper spray. Now, if you wanted to be silly and just take it and spray it at somebody, say, hey, Jimmy, and then spray him in the face, now you've just committed an aggravated assault. So that's how potent and strong of a weapon that somebody possesses, but you have to use it in the right context. I have a video on pepper spray at work. I'm not going to show that. I have this, and this will be on your reference page. It's just the reminders, little quick terms that I put together. I put it on an index card for the girls when they're in my course, and I ask them to put it on their mirror or somewhere that they can see when they're going out or whatever they're going to do for the day or night, just to remind them, just to, hey, I've had this, and yes, I have the ability to defend myself if need be. And it's pink. That's my favorite color. But again, it has all just some of the phrases that we went over. Different websites, and these are all going to be on the reference page. National Sexual Assault Hotline. RAIN is the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network. Their website is listed right there. They give all kinds of great information and resources. They give statistics on rape and sexual assault. Excellent source of information. Locally, we have PCAR, Pennsylvania Coalition Against Rape. There was a nice survey back in 2014 on student sexual assault on college campuses done by the California Coalition Against Sexual Assault. You also have the National Sexual Assault Violence Resource Center in Greensburg. The Blackburn Center, they're an excellent resource, and they're there for women to help them in domestic situations, and they're tremendous. And then we have in certain colleges, every college now has Title IX coordinators. St. Vincent has Eileen Flynn, and she's excellent. Anybody at the college and at St. Vincent, but every college will have a Title IX coordinator. This was really interesting. I read this article. You can see that this guy was stalking some famous woman in, I think it was Japan. But yeah, Japan, excuse me. And he was able to find her location by looking at her selfies that she posted and zooming in on her pupils to see where she was when she was taking the photos, like what she was facing and looking at. And then he was able to find out what subway stops that she was at, what restaurants she went to, and then eventually find out where she lived. That was really eye-opening when I read that, and I couldn't believe that here we are in an age where people are taking selfies like crazy, and of course there's people that utilize that for bad, and just something to think about when we're out there posting these kind of things. Whoops, sorry. No, I don't want to end it. No, I want that. And then here's Avital. For those of you, I just take a look at this and tell me what you think.
I have this drive in me now. Yet, I'm shy. I'm vulnerable. And I still have the heart of a ballerina. I run like a girl. I hit like a girl. I'm a princess. a survivor.
So that's Avital. She's the one that I said that she's one of the first female to ever be certified in Israeli Krav Maga. She has a TED Talk. It's amazing. She had been a world-renowned ballerina and had been brutally sexually assaulted by someone that she was in love with. And she spiraled into darkness. And someone said, you know, you need to get back to living. And they recommended self-defense course, and she started taking it and then learned about Israeli Krav Maga. And as she tells it, and it's an amazing story, she went to Israel to get certified. And when she went there, she arrived there and she's in the first class. There's 30 people in the class. She's the only female. And these are military men and law enforcement men, huge men, strong, and she's about 5 foot nothing. She's very tiny. And the first day of class, they put you in a pair, and then you have to spar with somebody. You have to fight. And they put her with the biggest person. And he's basically knocking the crap out of her. They're not going to take it easy on her because she's a girl. You want to be there, you're going to have to do what you're required to do. And she's sitting there just getting beat and beat and beat. And she's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. I traveled all this way. I'm not even going to make it through the first 5 minutes of this class. Either I'm going to like take it or I'm going to fight back. And she fought back. And so fighting back, she had an opportunity in one of the moves when his leg was vulnerable and she knew kicks, and she kicked his leg, breaking his leg. And the rest is history with her. And she got a lot of respect, and there was no hard feelings for what she did because that's what you go into that training for. She's in New York City. As you can see, and if I can bring it back, which I don't know, but she does in that stage scenario, she does one of the moves, the guy's on top of her, she does the hip thrust, which is what I showed you. She takes her purse and utilizes that for protection. And that's what I like. She teaches women about fighting with high heels. I know one of her clients, she does a lot with celebrities, is I'm going to say her name wrong, Amanda Zygert. She's the girl from the Mamma Mia new movies, the main girl in the movies. But she's taken her programs and so forth. So I don't fear a lot of people. I'll defend myself, but I would definitely not want to ever get into a fight with Avital. She would hurt me. I have other slides, but I don't have, like, there's bear hugs and stuff. And I think what I'm going to do is just end it there. I'm going to leave this up here just for you guys to look at. And I'll open it up for any questions. And what I really want to just say is I hope that, and this is short, an hour and a half to try to squeeze 30 hours in this stuff. It's just not enough. But what I really want you to see is that you have every right to protect yourself. Remember that. No one, you have your mind and your body to protect, so continue to do that. The best thing to do is to distract and go, get away. And then if that ever happens, and I'm not telling anybody what to do, it's a very hard situation if someone's done this kind of stuff to you, and I hope this never happens to anybody and you never have to use these kind of skills. And unfortunately, you shouldn't have to learn it, but it's good to have it just there. And until things change in society and the way of thinking, I think this is beneficial, and I just want to, hopefully I've empowered some people to know that you're allowed to fight back and do the right things. So I'll ask Julie to come back and see if there's any questions, concerns. Hopefully,
Yeah.
if anybody did it, they didn't get any injuries. So
Well, thanks, Greg. We appreciate it. So Bob Arrett had asked, he said, thanks for the presentation, great course. Is it available to churches?
absolutely. I'll the way I've done it in my old church, and I've done a few like locally in the community, and I'd have to talk with, obviously, whether I do it through St. Vincent College Prevention Projects or I do it just through myself. I've done that. And with my background, I'm able to do it. I just think it's important to be out there. So I'm more than willing to do it on my own time. If that's something you would want, Bob, or anybody else, I'm happy to do that and come out and do some presentations in that regard. And that would be, I'll talk with my people, and if that's something we can do through the prevention projects or just me on my own time, that's fine with me.
Okay, so we have a question. Haley wants to know, what should I do to get pepper spray as a 17-year-old? Is it okay for a parent to buy it for me?
Great question. Yes, you have to be 18 to purchase pepper spray, and then I'll bring that up. In Pennsylvania, most states, but yes, your parent can buy it for you and give it to you. Once, you just can't buy it, but you are allowed to possess it. All my daughters have it, and when they go out on runs or what have you, they carry it with them. And it's something that you have to respect. It's something that you need to read about more, and you can just look at it. There's videos on how it works, but definitely Walmart, Gander Mountain, most places will sell it, and your mom or parent can get it for you under 18.
Okay. The next question is, could my agency, Westmoreland Community Action, Head Start, Early Head Start, get a copy of this training to share with our home visiting staff that go into client homes? And I've always wanted them to have this type of self-protection skills training.
I would say that they can get a hold of Julie or me or Donna Keene, and I'd be happy to do it through our services for you, if that's fair enough. It's not something that I think that somebody who, without, like, I'm not tooting my own horn, but I've been doing this for over 20 plus years, and just to have the knowledge that I have to be able to present it, I think would be better, if that answers that question. But I'd be happy to do that as well.
Great. Is there a website for pepper spray?
To buy it?
I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'm sure if you, obviously with where we are right now with things, any of those Dick's Sporting Goods, I believe, sell it. Gander Mountain, Walmart, they'll be able to sell it and maybe even deliver it. Amazon Prime, that's my favorite way to shop. You can get it. You want to look at it too, and you can see I have it here, but there's a website here, and I didn't share it, but it's Saber Red. They make pepper spray, and if you just Google it, you can look at the amounts that you should and what you're allowed to carry. And our range is from 0.18% to 1.33% of what is allowed to be in there, the main ingredient.
Thanks, Greg. Can you send the resources for the video links?
Video links. Like my videos? Oh, no, I don't even know how to do that. I just put them on my phone, but I do have, I wouldn't know how to do that.
Well, we recorded this webinar, so if you want to view the videos, I guess, that Greg showed.
Oh, yeah, I have them on, like, the movies, like Roll Red Roll, and I think that's probably what she means, Audrey and Daisy. They're on the resource page, as well as Avatar.
Okay.
I'm assuming that's what they mean.
And that resource page again is coming out along with your certificate. Sarah O will send that all out either later today or tomorrow. Have you ever done a training with the Victim Center?
I have not. What victim, like locally? Like Westmoreland?
Lindsay asked the question, so I'm not sure. Lindsay, if you want to clarify a little bit more on which Victim Center. And we'll skip and go on to a different question while she clarifies. How much does it cost to have you teach this to a group like in Bedford County?
For me, we'd have to go through either WEDAC or through St. Vincent College Prevention Projects. So she or he wants to get a hold of them. And if we can't go into Bedford, again, I'm willing to do things on my own time because I think it's that important, if that makes sense.
Okay, and someone said, how about
And as long as they feed me, I'm happy.
Okay, so give Gregg food and he'll come to a training for you. Because they're asking in Delaware County. I think that's a little bit of a drive, isn't it? Delaware County?
Yeah, but unless, we can talk about who knows where we're going to be in terms of the state of affairs in the next few months. Webinars might be something I can talk about as well, and maybe doing this through a webinar.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Okay, so I don't think Lindsay ever clarified on which victim center. Oh wait, here.
But I think it wouldn't matter. I mean, obviously, if she's talking about like maybe a sexual assault victims or Blackburn or.
She's talking about Pittsburgh Action Against Rape Center for Victims in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I've never done it before for them, and this is something that I would be happy to do something like that for sure. And obviously to speak with the people about, what's appropriate and what they've gone through, but also for empowering them that you are allowed to defend yourself. I think that's so important. So I would definitely be willing to do that.
Okay. Okay. You can get a hold of, again, like you said, Donna Keene at St. Vincent College Prevention Projects to schedule anything, or email Gregg directly. And then, does anyone have any other questions for Gregg right now?
I think I put my email address on the reference page, Julie, and if not, yours is there, I think. I think I'm on there, so.
If not, we can add it.
Let me do this.
So anyone have any other questions for Gregg?
How do I get out of the share screen?
Amy, the certificate will indicate the number of hours of training. Let's see here, anything else? Okay, I think that's it, Gregg, unless you have anything else.
I don't, but thank you very much, Julie, and for having me be able to do this. And then hopefully I was able to reach enough people to at least allow them to know that you never want anybody to be in a situation that they have to do something like this, but that if they ever are, or that they have the ability and are allowed to protect themselves.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for this valuable information. And
Gregg.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
And we'll be sending out your certificates after the training, along with the resource sheet that Gregg put together for you guys. So thanks again, everybody. And I wouldn't say enjoy the weather, but you can't because it's cold. So
have a great day. Stay healthy and well.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Julie. Oh, there you go. Stop share. That's me.